Hello everyone, and I'm back. I'm finally recording a video for Shade the Archdemon again. Today we're playing Minecraft with a catch. Yeah, we're gonna be showcasing a mod. I know that mod showcases are kind of dead now that no one does them anymore, but I'm going to be doing this for the next couple days as I have nothing else to do, and I believe it's time I should start uploading. I'm going to apologize now if there are any background noises, such as drilling and things, because my house is currently under construction. But yeah, let's just get into it. So, we have a pretty large setup here in comparison to what I would usually do, which is just open up creative inventory. So, we'll start off with the basic, the book, not the fairies, the book. So this is the bestiary. You'll find them in podiums like this, in buildings, in these kinds of buildings in villages. This is where the scribe is going to be. You can find all sorts of drops in their chest, and the bestiary lectern, among other things. The bestiary lectern is the thing that you want, basically, with the bestiary. You also want these manuscripts, as these are what you use to, what you use to learn stuff in the bestiary. You'll put the bestiary into the lectern, and you can see all these options. They're usually randomized, but you can just learn everything, basically. It's going to cost a lot more than 64 manuscripts, but now we got all that in there. Okay, we're going to move away from the fairies for a bit because they're annoying to cover the book. So we got, or not fairies, but pixies. Pixies are what you saw over there. You can put them in jars, yada. That gives you a lot of information on everything. Except, blood alchemy. That's what, but yeah, on all the creatures. It's a guidebook. That's what it is. It's a guidebook. You're gonna want to carry this around with you a lot, as it's incredibly useful. It tells you all you need to know about dragons and other things. Oh yeah, this is the Ice and Fire mod. I forgot to explain that. Yeah, we're covering the Ice and Fire mod today. Or, I guess, currently. Moving on, we'll go to the ores. There's only 4 technical ores in the game that you can find for mining. There's amethyst, sapphire, copper, and silver. All of these have a use in the mod pack. Silver is used against undead, copper is just another armor set. Sapphire and amethyst have their own uses as well. Moving on, we'll do that last actually. We have the crafting items, which are silver ingots, obviously copper ingots, dragon steel, which is a little harder, not hard, but it's a new thing for armor and stuff. Amethyst, sapphire, which can be used to make summoning crystals and the blocks. Dragon scales, dragon bones, dragon fire, wither bones, secret serpent scales, Sympholian bird feathers, troll tusks, frost leather, desert myrex resin, pixie dust, or just myrex resin in general, and one I forgot to put in. Shiny scales. Most of these, specifically like these are all mob drops. Dragon bones come from dragons, dragon blood comes from dragons, dragon scales comes from dragons, shiny scales come from hippocampus and sirens, wither bones come from cockatrice, sea serpent scales come from sea serpents, so on and so forth. Most of these are pretty easy to get, except for dragon and sea serpent. And Myrex. Myrex because it's rare, dragon because it's a dragon, and sea serpent because it's a sea serpent. Everything else, decently easy to find. But dragon steel has its own special crafting recipe, which we'll show you right now. Which we'll use our fire dragon right here. Doesn't have a name, just gray fire dragon. And you need a dragon forge. A dragon forge has a lot of things in it. Like, a lot. You need dragon forge bricks, or just dragon bricks, which are used, or crafted like this, using dragon scale blocks, which are made out of dragon scales. Depending on what type of dragon you want, you have to use that specific type of scale. Dragon scales can then be used with, or dragon bricks, well, that's what we'll call them, can be used along with a dragon heart, which drops from a dragon, to make the dragon fire core. This is the middle part of here, that glowing thing. It can also be used with iron ingots to make the fire aperture, which is what they breathe into. Alright then. And then you need dragon bone blocks. So this is just bricks. It's a pretty easy array, and this is also explained in the bestiary somewhere. Getting rid of those. So what you want is a tier 3 dragon, which you can get by taming a dragon and taming a dragon. You need to tame a dragon, and it needs to be stage at least 3. This is a stage 4, but it can be a stage 3. That's when they're able to breathe fire into the forge. To use the forge, you access right here. You put blood, fire onto the apparatus of the aperture, and then slowly they will make a dragon steel engine. That to literally cook. We'll put the bestiary back onto its podium. Now, covering the pixies, they're annoying. They steal stuff from your inventory when you go into their villages. Their villages can be found pretty much everywhere, but I've found them a lot in dark oak forests. You can tame pixies with cake. I'm not kidding. You can tame them with cake. So you throw cake on the ground, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I haven't tamed a fairy in a while. But when you tame them, they'll follow you around and give you a positive status effect. We'll just throw the cake on the ground. And that positive status effect is different depending on the fairy, the pixie's color. I don't like them. Alright, they're annoying. They steal your crap if they're not tamed, and even when they are tamed, they can steal your stuff. But, yeah, it's like jump boost for green, I think it's speed for blue, I don't remember the rest. Anyway, legendary weapons. So these are made using rare drops from the different creatures. The iced, lightning, flamed, all that, is made by mixing dragon blood with the dragon bone sword. This sword is as good as a netherite sword. but made of dragon bone. The crafting recipe is as follows. You need wither bones and dragon bones. It's pretty simple. You can find dragon bones on dead dragon corpses that can be found all around the map, all around the world. But scales and things like that are harder to get. Then we have the flamed, iced, and lightning ones. Each of these has a different effect depending on whatever dragon blood you had applied to the dragon bone sword. So this pig's going to show us. Flamed, it's basically fire. It's fire effect. Pretty normal. Iced causes a creature to freeze in place. And lightning is kind of self-explanatory. Iced is one of the more useful ones for just everyday usage, because it can keep mobs in one area. Lightning is basically fire plus lightning damage, and fire is fire aspect. That's all there is to it. That's not saying that they're bad, it's just that I would not recommend using this. Well, no, actually, I would recommend using this, as they are, when you add blood to it, it increases the attack damage by 1.95, and you can still enchant it. Next, we have the blade swords, more swords. The Hippogriff Talon Sword, it's a very fast iron sword, basically. No special. Well, I guess there is a special. It has sweeping. So putting a sweeping edge on this one is probably recommended, as it does extra damage with sweeping attacks. The Phantasmal Blade is one of my more favorite ones. Okay, apparently you just can't create them. But it's a weapon that shoots a sword, not with every attack, but with every other attack. Kind of like a Terraria blade, kind of like the Terra Blade or a Knight's Edge from Terraria, which is why I like it. It's a ranged melee weapon. It does 11 damage, and they travel through blocks. So if you're using X-Ray, this weapon is kind of overpowered. It also does 11 damage without sharpness, which makes it just stupid. And then we have the Stymphalian Dagger. It's fast. That's all there is to it. It's fast. There's nothing cool about it. Then we're gonna go see the Troll Axe, Deathworm Gauntlet, and Tide Trident. They changed it finally. So the Tide Trident, we'll cover this first then. The Tide Trident used to literally be that model you see right there, just in your hand. They finally changed it to an actual trident model, which I am happy about. So it's just a trident with piercing. Of course, it also has the usual trident enchantments. You can apply Riptide and things, and since it does 13 damage instead of the usual 9, it is much better. It's made using Sea Serpent Fangs, Diamonds, Dragon Bones, and Sea Serpent Scales. You can't drop that, but you gotta put it in the chest. So now we have the Deathworm Gauntlet. The Deathworm Gauntlet, it's a Deathworm Gauntlet. You can punch people with it, although it doesn't really do anything when punching. And you can do this. Creepy, I know. It is made using Deathworm Chitin chains and the Deathworm Tongue. Think of it as the creatures from the Tremor movie. Yeah, they're really creepy. It's really creepy. It's also not the best, although it is technically ranged, so I guess it's not terrible. Then we have the Troll Axe. Now, this isn't the only troll weapon, as they have quite a few of them. You have a pillar, a tree trunk, and a hammer. All of them generally the same. They do the same damage, look the same, and, well, not look the same. That's the difference. They look different. We're just using the Troll Axe because it's a Troll Axe. It's just a giant weapon that attacks incredibly slowly and does 17 attack damage without enchants. So it hits really, really hard. It's just very, very slow. Now we're gonna do the weapons that you literally need to just have with you or in your hand for them to work. We have the Hydra Heart, which increases passive regen. Whenever the player is injured. And then we have the Eye of the Cyclops, which applies weakness to nearby creatures. So yeah, he's got weakness now. They don't really do anything unless they're in your hotbar, and that's why they're not super... No, the Hydra Heart is incredibly useful. The Cyclops Eye isn't as hard to get, though. Then we have the, what I'd call staves and things. They're pretty cool. So we have the Cockatrice Scepter, which does the same thing the Cockatrice does while you're holding it. When you stare at a mob, it'll shoot out a beam that applies withering and a couple other things. It's very deadly. Then we have the Pixie Wand. It causes mobs to float and applies... Well, and applies levitation. Well, yeah, it applies levitation and glowing. It requires pixie dust to use, though. Then we have the Hippocampus Slapper. Okay, so it just knocks things out, basically. It looks dumb, but it's a weapon. Then we have the Myrex Swarm. It summons a bunch of Myrex. You have to wait for them to cool down. Not long enough. Yeah. Then we have the Amphitheater Makuhito. You hit something that flies. Then we have the Siren Flute, which pacifies nearby mobs, or pacifies the mob you're looking at for a short duration. So having this is actually very useful. Of course, this is all it does. They don't attack for 10 seconds. They don't do much. It doesn't do much. That is it for staff-ish like weapons. I say staff because they're the Now we have the one-time use items. The Bird Feather Bundle and the Gorgon Head. The Gorgon Head is self-explanatory. If you know what the Medusa does, he does that. And what the feather bundle does is it shoots a bunch of arrows out. Since I'm in creative, these are infinitely, but yeah, it creates a statue. Now, these statues are actually mineable if you have Silk Touch on a pickaxe, which we're not going to do because there's no point. But if you have Silk Touch on your pickaxe, you can mine these statues and place them around, which is a good way to get cool statues, especially if you have Mousy's mobs. You can do this to the Ferrous Wrought-Knot. Now we have tools. They're pretty boring, except for these. They're just a pickaxe and everything else just made out of different things, like Myrix chitin, or copper, or dragon steel, or dragon bone. Dragon steel. It's used like iron, except you have to use wither bones. Oh yeah, so instead of sticks, you use wither bones for all the weapons. Now we have the sticky chain line, and the dragon bone flute. The dragon bone flute is kind of cool. And no one understands what that just did, because it didn't do anything. It made a noise. It's supposed to call down an amphitheater if it's in the vicinity. Although I have not gotten this to work yet, so I don't know. The sticky chain line is used to attach two mobs to each other, like this. Okay, well I guess we're gonna have to do it to an iron golem. You can use it to attach an iron golem if you want to, I don't know, a horse. So now they're stuck to each other. Then the chain line is just more strong lead. This is a lead made of chains. Now we got taming. It's a lot of stuff, but it's pretty simple. The Dragon Command Staff, made with literally 2 sticks and a dragon skull, allows you to command your dragon. Then, horn. This is made using dragon bones and sticks. You can store your dragon in the dragon horn, and then place the dragon with the dragon horn. It's kind of like a cryopod from Ark. Pretty simple. Next, we have the dragon crystals. You just make the certain type of crystal you need depending on what dragon you have. And what this does, you bind the dragon to the crystal, and then you can move the dragon once. You have to rebind the dragon every time, though. And that's what the dragon crystal does. It's a teleporter. Instead of holding your dragon on you, you can just move it to different locations. Then we have dragon eggs. Now these we're not going to try and hatch right now because they take longer than I want the video to be. Well, I could have probably had them cooking well before I started the video, but that's boring. Basically, depending on the type of dragon you have, ice, lightning, or fire, they have a different hatching method. Fire and lightning being the easiest, well, lightning being a little harder. Lightning dragons can only hatch during a thunderstorm, so you just put the egg outside and it'll slowly hatch. Fire, you just put it on some netherrack and it'll start hatching. Ice, you have to put it underwater in a box contained with ice, it's a pain. Now we'll do cockatrice, which, like chickens, you get these rotten eggs, right? And boom, you have a tamed cockatrice. Where did the other one go? Tamed cockatrice will follow orders when they have a command staff. When there's a command staff here, but when you use the command staff. Now we got the next ones that I'm not looking forward to. Hippogriff egg, it's the same thing. Now, hippogriffs, you tame them with rabbit's feet. They're pretty cool. This one's a baby though, so it's difficult. I'm pretty sure the growth meals work on these things. I'm pretty sure they do not. Okay. Oh yeah, you tame them with rabbit's feet. They can be picky when they're not adults, so we'll just leave the baby there. Then we have a giant death worm. Pretty tiny, but that's because it's a baby. They'll grow after a while, but that's a pain. Then we have the Myrex eggs. Now these exist for every type. They take a while to hatch, and you can just pick them up like that. We're just not going to hatch them at all. That's all of the baby creatures, I guess you could say. But that's not everything you can tame. No, you can tame a lot of things. Like, most of the creatures. Well, not most. You can tame a couple of them. Not the stimflower. So, now we'll cover food. Because we can't tame everything until we do. So, there's only 5 foodish items. Here's ambrosia, which gives you all of these status effects for 3 minutes. It's made with pixie dust and coal, pretty easy. Then you have the dragon flesh. What it does is that, depending on which type you eat, it'll apply a different effect to you. If you eat fire dragon flesh, you get set on fire. If you eat ice dragon flesh, you freeze. And lightning, you get struck by lightning. It's pretty self-explanatory. Already showed the fairies. I guess now it's time for the skulls and armor. There's a lot of different armors in this. All of them made from primarily mob drops, except for silver, copper, and dragon steel. Actually, dragon steel is made with mob drops too. But yeah. So, starting from over here, we have silver, which is made with silver ingots, kind of with the same recipe as iron. Well, the weapons do more against undead mobs, and the armor is just, I think it's about as good as iron. It's about as good as iron. Copper is about as good as gold, but with more durability, and it looks cooler. Because duh, it's cool. It's based off of the Roman, I think Roman armor. Then we have the Deathworm armor. It's made out of the Deathworm chitin that I don't have on me, but what drops from Deathworms. It's, I think, about as good as Iron Jungle, or this is just Myrex armor. This is the jungle variation, but there's the desert as well. It's as good as Iron. Then we have the sheep armor. This is used to hide from Cyclops in their caves, as if you're acting as a sheep. It's a reference. It's a reference to the Odyssey. It's about as good as leather, as it's just used to not be noticed by Cyclops. So, yeah. These are all the different dragon steels. The weapons all inflict whatever effect, lightning, ice, fire, that kind of thing. This all has incredibly high defense and durability. The sword itself does 25 damage, and the axe does 30. Yeah, these are the best armors you can get. They're also the hardest to get in comparison. Because to get a tameable dragon, you have to kill a tier 5, which are found in dragon lairs underground. But yeah, these are incredibly good once you add enchantments. They're already good without enchantments, but once you add them, you're unstoppable. Because the armor has the effect of increasing protection from dragon breath attacks. It's cool. Then we have Dragon Scale. It's basically the same as it does the same thing as Dragon Steel, just worse and made out of dragon scales. Tide Guardian, it's made out of Sea Serpent and Pristine, or the Rainbow Scales. It makes it so you can swim faster, you breathe underwater, you get increased strength and other things underwater. It's also pretty good. And then we have we have Troll Armor, made out of troll tusks and troll leather. It's about as good as Iron Armor, I think, and it has special protection against ranged attacks. It also looks pretty cool. Most of the armor looks cool, except for Myrex, because Myrex got hated on. Now we have the different heads. This is the different skulls. I lined them up in order of size, but they're skulls. They drop from the creatures. That's it. That's it. Now we're gonna do dragon armor. So the dragons have their own armor. You can also put banners on their backs, but that's not important right now. Dragons have their own armor. Each... That is Fire Dragon Steel on a Fire Dragon. I know. Amazing. Oh yeah, you can also, you're able to use the breath attacks. This is the bite. I don't know how to ride the dragons. I don't use them enough, because I don't make it to that point, usually. But that's what they look like wearing the armor. Now it's time for all of the creatures. Fire, ice, hippogriff. We'll do the tameable ones first. We should also do these further away. I get my Dragon Command Staff and Creative Dragon Meal to instant tame the dragons. So you've already seen the Fire Dragon. Then we have Ice Dragons. That's a baby. Ice Breath and Lightning Dragons, which sleep during the day, so these guys sleep during the night. These boys sleep during the day. All of the dragons are aggressive towards each other, by the way, so if you're gonna tame them, make sure they're far away and staying. Because they will try and kill you. Or not kill you, but they will try and kill each other. Now we have hippogriffs. They start to fly away as soon as you spawn them in, usually. Like I said, they start to fly away. Which is incredibly annoying. But it's necessary, because they're a flying creature. Pretty sure I can keep this one in an area if I change. Already flew away. Where? I'm dumb. If you don't know, so, yeah, we got Buckbeak. So you need to put a saddle on them, but you can also put armor. Yeah, no, most of the creatures require saddles to ride. Like every other creature in Minecraft. But once you got yourself a Buckbeak, you can go flying around in the air. I don't remember how you go down. But yeah, you can be flying on the hippogriff. And they're pretty fast. Pretty cool. They also fall out of the sky when you get off of them. Then we have Hippocampus. These guys are water mobs. So we're gonna just bring you over here. They don't like land. Although they can be on land, they're not supposed to. You tame these boys with sponges or kelp. Okay, you no longer tame them with sponges. You only tame them with kelp. Yeah, you tame them with kelp. They're very, very easy to tame. Now he's mine. They cannot stop moving, by the way. They will not stop moving. They are a water horse. You can put horse armor on them if you want. And they are incredibly good for getting around the ocean, because they can go underwater. And they are very fast in the water. Now it's time for the Amphitheater. Now these guys are a pain, because what you have to do is you have to shoot them down with an arrow. Let's say I hit that while it's in the sky. Now you gotta mount them. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna keep biting you until you get off. Or until they're tamed. Once they are tamed, which might take a while, you have to do this. You literally sit here. Let them keep biting you, and now you have the fastest flyer in the game. One of. It's also a good flyer and easier to tame. That's the Amphitheater. or Amphibia. Next we have the Sea Serpent, the Hydra, Gorgon, Pixie, Cyclops, Siren, and Deathworm. So we'll do the Deathworm first. Since there isn't a desert nearby, it's not able to go into the sand though. So we gotta witness it in all its glory. So that's its tongue. Really weird looking. They are basically the tremor creatures, but a little different. They're giant worms. Sirens can be on land, and what they do is they sing. If you're in survival, they try and draw you closer and then strike, because they're monsters. Now, since it's not in the water, they're not as hard to deal with, but when they're in the water, they can swim around you and become really annoying. Next, we have the Cyclops, which picks things up and eats them, which is why they're the most annoying creature in this. Because they can pick you up. Actually, a lot of the creatures can pick you up, a lot of the bigger ones, dragons can. And they start biting you to death. They also have an ungodly amount of HP. They generally drop mutton and other things because they're sheep herders. And their legendary is one of the easiest because you practically get it every time. Then we have pixies. You already saw them, but they can steal your stuff. That's all they do, really. They're tameable. They're a pain in the ass to tame, but you can tame them. Then we have the Gorgon. You have to wear a blindfold, which is crafted like this, to fight them. Oh yeah, there's also earplugs, which you can use to negate what the things do. Yeah, you have to put on blindfolds to be able to avoid dying, getting turned to stone by the Gorgon. When you kill the Gorgon, her corpse is still left behind, and you get her head. Every time. It's at 100% drop rate. Oh yeah, and here's the earplugs. They just keep you from hearing sirens. Then we have the Hydra. Now the Hydra is a fun one, because when it's not set on fire, and you start trying to damage it, he grows more heads. The maximum, I'm pretty sure, it's poison, overall, the more heads it has, can cause its heads to not regrow. The more heads it has, it also has a buttload more HP. But eventually it dies, and it drops its fangs, which can be used for arrows. They're just poison arrows. Now we have sea serpents. These can get incredibly big. They're the biggest creature in the mod. Of course, on land, they're not as dangerous. Oh, but they can also jump out of the water incredibly high and attack you on land. They do this quite often. So I recommend if you see a sea serpent, run away. And even if you do run away, it'll still catch you. So, really, all you can do is accept your fate. Okay, well, I destroyed the chest, but that's fine, because there's not a lot left. So, next up is trolls. During the day, they turn to stone in sunlight. night, they move around. They're creepy as shit, and I don't like them. But they have incredible knockback resist, and usually they'll drop their weapon they're holding. Oh yeah, and when they're turned to stone, this is the same thing they look like when they're hit with Medusa. Next we have the Myrax. We'll show off the Myrax Queen first, actually. Because when you spawn her in with a spawn egg, something special happens. She does this animation, and soon a Myrax nest appears. This is what they look like. They're dark holes. They're not super insane. She'll usually have some members of her brood, and usually custom spawned in ones usually start dying and don't reproduce. Then we have the Sentinel. These boys are pretty cool, because eventually they lay down and camouflage themselves. Oh yeah, they also do that. Myrax Workers, they're big ants. Myrax Royals, they're flying ants. Soldiers, big ants. They're ants. There's not much to them. Then the final three creatures. Stymphalian birds, which you find usually in groups of at least 4. And what these guys do is they shoot arrows at you that... So yeah, they fly around and shoot things with their feathers. Ghosts, they can phase through walls and scare you. Oh yeah, they can also just, like, disappear. And cockatrice. Stare at one in the eyes, it'll kill you. If you stare at one in the eyes for long enough, you can even tame them. They're not rideable, though. And that covers practically everything except for the Dread. Now, I didn't have room in the chest to show off the Dread. The Dread are undead creatures. We have the Dread Night Horse, the Dread Thrall, the Dread Ghoul, the Dread Beast, the Dread Scuttler, the Dread Knight, and the Dread Witch. They're all undead creatures. The Knight rides the horse, the Scuttler is a spider, the Dread Beast is a monster. Oh, and you could see. So she just left her nest and created another one. So the queen, whenever she's not in the nest, will always create a nest. She always creates her nest. What is killing... The thing is implying poison. Yeah, it's a thing. That is practically everything in Ice and Fire. I'm not sure if I missed anything except for like banners and things. Yeah, I got everything except for banners. If you guys want another showcase of one of these mods, please let me know, because I am always happy to do so. And even if you don't ask for it, I'm still going to do it at least 3 more times. So if you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, and do whatever you need to do, and I'll talk to you all later.